Yo, what's going on YouTube? My name's SoFlo Sneakers, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my experience with buying a top tier bot for the resale price. So in my case, I'm going to be talking about Cyber, but I think this video can definitely be applied to other bots as well, like Kode, Ganesh, or Wraith, all because they're at similar price points. So I think the best way to start this video off would be to give you guys some background information on my previous botting experiences before I made the move over to Cyber. So I've always been a fan of sneakers my whole life, but I never really got into the reselling aspect of them until about October of last year. I can't remember exactly what got me into it, but I did come across the Sneakers app, which I'm sure a ton of you guys are familiar with. And on the Sneakers app, I actually ended up hitting on my first pair of shoes, which was the Obsidian 1s. The next shoe was the Fearless 1s, and after I made some money on those two, I decided that I was going to pursue this even farther, and of course, the best way to be copying a ton of hype releases is through botting. My initial budget was around $1,500, which isn't anything crazy by any means, and after researching for about a month and paying some people for some help, I decided that my first bot was going to be Velox. The reason I decided to go with Velox was because at the time it was only $200, and because it was someone like me just starting out, I wanted to keep my risk as low as possible. I heard it was an upcoming Supreme bot, and I also heard about the upcoming bandana box logos that was dropping later in the season, and I figured that this would be the best way to recoup my money as fast as possible. Fast forward to drop day, and I ended up taking a major L on the hoodies, but I actually ended up getting 2 of the t-shirts, which I ended up making a 400% return on. So after this, I was obviously super gassed up, and I decided that I was really going to take it to the next level. So fast forward to the beginning of this year in January, I ended up buying Splash Force for $350. Keep in mind that even at this point, I was still in free cook groups, and I was just asking questions to everyone who would answer them, and I was just trying to soak up as much knowledge as I possibly could. At this point too, I was working at a restaurant, and every single paycheck that I would get, it would go right into my bank, and I was just trying to save as much money as I possibly could. So I ended up hitting on a decent amount of Yeezy supply releases at the beginning of the year, and just this whole time I just wanted more and more, and I really just wanted to have a good bot that was just slaying every single site. About 5 months later, so May of this year, I decided that I was ready to step my game up and that I wanted to fully commit to sneaker botting. For about a month, I was just steady researching and just talking to people and really just trying to figure out which bot was going to be the best option for me. I looked at all the possible bots on the market that had what I was looking for, which was basically just an all-in-one bot that could run efficiently on every site. After all of my research and after talking to some friends, I decided that Cyber was going to be the best option for me. There's a couple reasons why I decided to go with Cyber over other bots, and the first reason, and honestly one of the biggest ones, was their reputation. So at this time, Wraith was an up-and-coming bot, and I think the price was around $2,000, and the same goes for Kode, and I think the price was around $4,500. In hindsight, obviously Wraith would have been a fantastic buy, but I didn't really know too much about it, and all of their success was very recent. For Kode, they were also having a ton of new success on foot sites. They were absolutely feasting, and they still are feasting, and at the time they were blowing Cyber out of the water on foot sites. But like I said before, it was all new success. What turned me off about Kode was the fact that 2 months earlier, they were sitting at around $1,500 to $2,000. So within a few months, they started doing super well and the price absolutely skyrocketed. So in my eyes, Wraith and Kode were very volatile bots, and they didn't have nearly as long of a track record that Cyber had. If you know anything about stocks, you can basically say that I saw Cyber as a blue chip company like Apple or Microsoft, and although they do have big dips in price, they're still a great company and they tend to recover. The idea behind blue chip stocks is that they're a safe investment and you can put your money in there and have some confidence that it's in good hands. Fast forward a few weeks later, and I finally decided to go through with it and purchase Cyber. Before this, my biggest bot purchase was Splash Force for $350, so obviously this was a huge jump for me, and it was definitely a really scary process making an online payment of $4,500. What I did end up doing was purchasing Cyber directly from a title middleman, so I knew that with this option there was less risk than purchasing it from just someone else posting on the marketplace. So now, since you guys have some background and you kind of saw my mindset going into some different things, let's get into the big question: is buying a $4,500 sneaker bot worth it? When I was trying to answer this question for myself, there was a few key things that I was focusing on and trying to analyze. The first question I asked myself was, is buying Cyber a short-term or a long-term play? So in other words, was I going to buy it, use it for a few months, maybe hit on a couple releases, and then probably sell it? Or was I really looking to pursue sneaker botting and try to turn it into a potential source of residual income every month? In my case, I knew that I wanted it to be a long-term play that I would have to learn and grind, so I would be able to 1, recoup my initial investment as fast as possible, and 2, keep going even after I reach this break-even threshold. The next question I ask myself is purchasing Cyber going to be an asset or a liability? In very simple terms, an asset puts money into your pocket every month, and a liability takes money out of your pocket every month. Because of what I talked about before with Cyber being a very reputable bot, I knew that once I got past the learning curve, I would be able to consistently cook hype releases and put money in my pocket every month. The key word in that sentence was consistently, because that's something that I value a ton with different assets that I own, and it doesn't change when it comes to sneaker bots. The last thing that I want to do is buy something that'll make me money for a couple months, and then it kind of falls off the face of the earth, fades away, and then there goes my income. Another very important aspect that goes right along with Cyber's reputation is the ability to rent it out. This was honestly one of the biggest reasons that I decided to go through with Cyber, just because of this one option alone. Let's just say that for one reason or another, I'm not able to bot anymore. As an extreme example, let's just say my computer breaks, I can't afford a new one, I can't use a friend's, whatever it may be, and for one reason or another, I'm not able to use Cyber to get shoes anymore. There's 2 main options in this scenario. The first one is that I just sell Cyber and get back what I paid, and I take my small profits and I move on. The next option, which in my opinion is the way better option, is to rent Cyber out. Because I knew that Cyber was going to be a long-term play for me when I was considering buying it, I knew going in that there was a possibility that I wouldn't be able to recoup my initial investment in a short period of time. What I did know though is that there's always the option of renting it out. So let's just say on average you can rent out your Cyber for $200 a month. Right now it's being rented out for about $275, so this is honestly a pretty low number, but let's just use it as an average. So at this rate of renting it out for $200 a month, solely renting it out, not going for any drops, you're renting it out for 12 months of the year, that would put you at right around $2,400 for the year. This is already 50% of your original investment. After 2 years of renting it out, I would completely recoup my initial investment, and guess what? I still have Cyber, and I would be able to sell it for market value, which I'm assuming is going to be at least a couple $1,000s then. Of course, this obviously isn't my plan right now because I'm using Cyber for myself and trying to get as many shoes as I possibly can, but the point behind this is that I felt like I was making a safe investment because I had a plan B to generate income if plan A didn't work out. Let's just say I was a terrible chef and I couldn't cook a release to save my life. I could still make back my initial investment in 2 years without touching a single shoe. Thankfully, this hasn't been the case so far, and I've been doing relatively well for just starting out, but I only plan to improve upon my skills moving forward. The next aspect that I considered when buying Cyber was how much of my capital or the money that I have available to spend would I be using on this purchase. Like I said before, I was working and saving up my money, so when I did make this purchase, I was comfortable and I still had some additional capital left over. Obviously, you can buy Cyber for $4,500 right now, but if you only have $500 left over, it's going to take you a very long time to be able to gain back your initial investment. It's hard to give an exact number on how much additional capital you need after you purchase Cyber, because there's a lot of different factors that go into play, like how many releases are coming up this month, how hyped the releases are, how profitable they are, how committed you are to sneaker botting, stuff like that. But I think that a realistic number would be an additional $2,000 on top of your $4,500 investment. This gives you some room to play around with, and you can definitely be copying 5 to 10 shoes at a time, which can definitely yield some decent profit margins to start getting you back on track to gaining that initial investment back. One thing that I've learned that I wasn't really anticipating as a huge expense was proxies. I don't know why, but I guess I just wasn't really running that many tasks on Splashforce before, but my proxy plans would kind of last me a little while, but now I'm absolutely flying through them. I use about 1 gigabyte up a drop, which is pretty crazy to me because 2 gigabytes would last me like a month beforehand, but that's one expense that I didn't really anticipate. Luckily, I was able to secure a couple proxy sponsorships, so that's definitely helping out a ton with that cost there. So to wrap this video up, let's talk some numbers and let's see how I've been doing on Cyber for the time I've been using it. So keep in mind, like before, I still am in the learning curve and I'm nowhere near an expert at Cyber or anything like that, but these numbers are going to be for roughly the first month of me actually using Cyber and going for different releases. I'm going to put up a little chart showing the profit I've made from shoes / the profit that I could make from shoes that I'm holding, and just keep in mind that this doesn't even include any of my Splashforce profits either. So I ended up selling the brick bariums for retail, so I didn't make any money on those, even though I was super gassed up in that video because that was my first time hitting Shopify, but that kind of ended up being an L. But the dunks were a sick cop and I'm still holding on to those, but I believe I'll be able to get at least 400 when I do decide to sell those. And I made some money on the alternate grapes. I made about $35 a pair and I sold those the same day that I actually got them in hand. The ones I'm still holding on to, and I think by the time I do sell those, I should be able to get at least $60 profit a pair for those. And the 12s are currently on the way, and I think I'll be able to get at least $35 to $40 a pair on those as well. So as you can see, this was my first real month using Cyber, and I made about $575 in profit. If we subtract out my proxy expenses, it would probably bring us somewhere right around $475, maybe $500, and honestly, I'm super content with this, as like I said, it was my first real month using Cyber. So I'm hoping I can definitely start bringing this total profit number up even farther as time goes on. So if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much because I really appreciate the support you guys have been showing me, and I really love when you guys watch my videos and hearing the nice comments and all that good stuff. So if you guys wouldn't mind just dropping a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and as always, make sure to leave any questions down in the comment section below. So I hope I was able to help a couple people out, because a lot of the information in the video were stuff that I wish I knew kind of before buying Cyber, and although I did have a pretty good idea of what I was doing, there's still a ton of uncertainty. And 1 month after the fact, I'm very glad that I did make this purchase, and I'm really looking forward to the future with Cyber, with the YouTube channel, just with everything going on. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and on that note, I'll catch you guys on the next one.